Hey guys, Broken Stars here. So I just created a 1 hour play and explain video, and what I'd like to do right now is kind of go through the hands that I played and then do some in-depth analysis over the hands, um, and just see, was I making any mistakes or anything like that, and kind of just do a more in-depth analysis because like during the hand. I mean, there's really not a whole lot of time to explain my thought process, but now we get to go back into the video and, basically see if my thoughts were correct or not. So this is the first interesting hand, and we'll listen to what I have to say, and then I'll uh, I'll do a more
Hands.
in-depth analysis.
Still probably supposed to be checking a lot, but when it checks around all the way on the flop and then would check to us there, then I think we'd start betting. Open the Jack 10, you're in position, I'm just never folding. And I probably supposed to be peeling a lot versus like most sizings. Definitely versus that sizing. And pair 7's actually I think kind of bad for us because I don't have, like I'm not pure opening 8-7 suited or 7-6 suited. I'm probably not pure calling like A7, so it just reduces my combos of pocket sevens.
So there's the first hand that I'm going to be going over. So we open Jack 10 suited MP, get 3 bet by the big blind, call, Queen 7-5 rainbow. We got the back door. He bets like 30%, 35%. We call, and then the 7 turn. So I have a number of assumptions like during this video. I call pre-flop, and then I call the flop, and then on the turn I say that's probably not a good turn for me. And if we look at this hand, I think a big portion of my range would be in a tough spot on the turn, like especially if I'm peeling as wide as Jack 10 with the backdoor on the flop. So the first thing I want to do is look at some pre-flop ranges. I want to identify what would happen in theory in equilibrium with equilibrium ranges, and then I want to do basically another sim with more realistic ranges. So we're going to start with the theory point of view, give more theory ranges, and then do more exploitative population tendency type stuff. So first off, I ran some pre-flop sims, which I'm going to end up making available to everyone, I think, on a Google Drive. But here's a pre-flop sim I did for MP, where MP just opens like 21.5%. And I don't know open exactly this, but this is a equilibrium RFI range that I've had before from a Munker pre-flop sim. And then this is the equilibrium response for the big blind and for this sim. And here are the settings I used. The rake is 5%, capped at 2 big blinds, which is 200 Z rake for ignition. And then I allowed a 11 big blind 3 bet, 25 big blind 4 bet, and an all in. And it's ran over a 44 flop subset, and it was ran to a pretty low exploitability, so it's reasonably reliable. Um, and this is actually pretty similar to what I see with other ranges. So I have like other pre-flop ranges that were solved before. Let me look. Well, let me go over this first. So, for example, with this range, the big blind is supposed to be raising 7.4%. So let me get a notepad open. So let's write some of this stuff down. So situation one, let's just do theory. So let me say what the spot is. So we got Jack 10 suited open, MP, big blind 3 bet, call the Jack 10 suited. And then we had it's like Queen 7-4, I think, rainbow flop. So theory, big blind 3 bet is supposed to be 7.5%. What is it in reality? So it's like kind of a question I want to look at, and then what are we supposed to be calling? And I actually just looked at this before I started the video, and I was like, I haven't looked at it before. I was surprised. I guess like surprised, but like not that surprised. Um, I mean, Jack 10 suited is supposed to be mixed, and I thought that was kind of crazy for in position, but maybe, I guess. A lot of Jack 10 suited is just going to end up getting dominated. Like, you see this bifurcation, like, these low suited hands are going to be a little bit more preferred, but generally speaking, you're calling kind of an equal amount of combos for all of these. So the assumption is they're like all break even, more or less. And same thing with like fives through, well, I should say like twos through nines. Like they're all presumably, very close to zero EV. And same with a lot of the weaker suited aces, like presumably really close to zero EV, and then the other hands are kind of just trash. I thought this looked kind of tight, but I mean, these hands are probably pretty close. I think your EV in position is going to be higher than whatever PO says, typically speaking, just because people aren't going to be as aggressive post flop. But then again, players are probably not three betting 7.5%, which is the other thing I want to look at. So I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to try to get um, my population database up. All right, so I have an alias of 200Z players open in my hem right now. So with how Ignition works, I get all the hole cards revealed, and this is just an alias of all the hands I've played. And as you see, it's over 4 million hands, so we can get like a very, very accurate idea of what people are doing. So what I'm gonna do is we'll pretend we're from the big blind, we're facing one racer, and that racer's position is MP. And then we'll see what the population's 3-bet percentage is and kind of go from there. So I'm gonna be solving this spot from two different perspectives, theoretical perspective and then, trying to give this guy a range. And we see that the average player is only 3-betting 4% out of a big blind versus an MP open, which is very low. I'm actually going to be surprised if like Jack 10 suited is, potentially even a fold in that situation, I guess. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is solving this from the perspective that it's GTO, and I have like some other ranges to look at and like compare, but they're all pretty close-ish to what I showed. So let me find it. Yeah, here we go. So this is the range I'm gonna give for like the GTO 3-bet range out of the big blind, and this is like very close to what my Munker solved ranges show that I purchased a long time ago. And then I will put in the solved for in position call as well. And this isn't really that close to reality, but it's a good start. So we'll see what equilibrium looks like. I think it was Queen of Hearts 7-4. I think it was something like that. Queen of Hearts 7-5. Let's do, okay. And this is starting pot, round 220, round 890 deep. And then out of position went 35%. This should solve pretty fast. We'll just do 70, 70, 70. Do something like this for our first solve. I don't think people are going to be using bigger sizings here, and I want to keep the tree kind of simple. So we'll let this solve quick. 1 second. All right, so this is solved to low exploitability, solved pretty fast. So let's look at the first node. So in position, or out of position, I should say, can pretty much just range bet for the small sizing, which I think people are going to be doing. And then, Okay, looks like most of our backdoor hands are mixed, so this should just be 0 EV. I guess Jack 10 of hearts is pure called, but it's 0 EV, and I think honestly it's probably negative EV in practice. Now that I'm like thinking about this spot, and it was 7 turn, and then he bet the 2/3, and yeah, I imagine we just ordered 0 EV with all of our pocket pairs at that point as well. It's kind of a terrible spot. And then along with the ace king, kind of a terrible spot. And let me see, the one thing I did say was that this would be one of the worst cards for us. I wonder if that is correct. This or a king, this 7, the 5, the pair board. So 5, 7, king or an ace is the worst card, which yeah, I mean that makes sense. And I said, 6, 8, or 9 is probably, or a 10 is, or a jack are like more of our better cards, which is true. And 2, 3 are basically blanks, so those would be bad as well. So I mean, at least I was right in that regard, but I think I should probably just be folding the flop. And the other thing I wanted to see, well, I'll look at that later. Let's rerun the sim with different ranges. So I'm gonna put in what I think my range would be. So I probably don't have too much 2s through 5s to be honest. I'll just give myself like 10%, but I don't really have a whole lot of those. And honestly, I might even fold a decent amount of my 6s. I'd probably call all of these though, like pure call jacks. Honestly, I don't really 4-bet queens versus the big blind 3-bets either. And I also really don't 4-bet the ace king because I perceive people to be quite strong. And if they're 4-betting or 3-betting 4%, then yeah, that would be mostly the case. But I do typically call all of this stuff. I fold a decent amount of this. I don't pure open these other hands. Probably give me something like this, maybe. That's probably close to what my range looks like, to be honest. Maybe I 4-bet on occasion, take out 3 combos of ace king suited. But yeah, my range probably looks like this, which presumably should be a little bit tighter. And then a long time ago, I did get ranges for the population. Um, that would be something like this. So I used kind of a program to do this. I basically copied data out of my hem, but this is non-exact, so this isn't verse the specific sizing or doesn't take into consideration like other people calling or anything like that. So I think I will leave it like this, which is way tighter. And it says it's about 4.4, and what we looked up said at 4%, so it should be close to that. And we'll rerun with these ranges. And actually, I probably don't even need to pause it. It solves like super quick with my computer. I'm imagining he range bets in this situation like Jack 10 would not be a call. He's got a tighter range. So like 0 EV calls probably just negative. Okay, so yeah, he just range bets. And it still says it's 0 EV, but it's mostly folded. And I think this is a lot closer to what we should be doing post flop. Like you should probably already just mix, like fold these hands. I don't think you really should be calling that much. And even pre-flop I think is actually close. So yeah, I think I should be tighter in this situation, both pre and post. Especially based on these that pre-flop sim. which was like if they're three betting a lot, then a lot of these hands are still mixed, which is kind of crazy, but I guess it does make sense. Kind of interesting that kings are actually called some as well. And this is basically identical to my Munker ranges that I purchased, which I don't want to show on screen, but they're since they're paid for, let me actually see what the in position response is. Yeah, and position's really basically identical to my solve. And Munker ranges were solved with lower rake with like 500 Z rake. So the one thing I wanted to look at was if how the population is doing calling the three bets. So let me see here. So let's say yes and yes. And that we three bet is a no. Okay. Oh no. Three betters position, big blind. So this should solve for as if we're in the big or in the MP and then big blind three bets. Let me see if this actually filters right. And then I just want to see what the EVs are of like various hands for most people. Well, for the average population. So let me just click one of these and see if it solved correctly. Or like filtered correctly, that is. So MP open. Well, this goes three ways, but close enough. And then actually I wanted to go to whole cards. Well, actually I'll just do a whole card filter. Well, no. Well, yeah, whatever. See how the population does when they call these suited connectors. So I'm not sure what the average population RFI sizing is, but yeah, I mean, there's only 200 hands. It's not that many hands, but they're negative. It's more than, like, let's say if they all opened for 3 BB, uh, then they would do better by just folding all of these hands. I mean, it makes sense if the MP is just so fucking tight. Let's see how they're doing with the low pocket pairs. Let's do like 9s, 8s, 7s. How are they doing with these? I mean, there's a sample size issue, but I mean, it gives you a good idea, I guess. So a lot of these hands should be close. So this is -2, which would be like positive. Let me look at these lower pocket pairs. And this is as the population. I mean, presumably our stats would be at least slightly higher. And about -2, so close to break even in all the accounts. But I think what I learned here is that like it probably should be a little bit tighter everywhere because MP3 bets are very strong. Let's go back to the video and find the next hand. So I'm just gonna mute this. Just gonna skip through. There we go. Okay. There's like a couple hands I wanted to look at. That was a weird hand, but it was limped. I think this was a limped hand as well. Guide for us. Mostly just one hand I wanted to. Could look at this one, I guess. I don't really want to look at that one though. Let's look at this one. So let me open this one up. Let's go back to the beginning. So this 5-4 hand would be a good one because I kind of did something weird. So let me unmute and you guys can listen to this hand.
Like sevens or like ace six of spades or something. I'm gonna defend 5-4 off pre. I think people will just overfold versus the raise. But yeah, actually I think people will just overfold versus the raise. We'll just go with that. I didn't even fold like half the time. And I think once he calls, like my folding, like his folding frequency on turn is actually not going to be that high. Even though I pick up the two, I'm just going to take my equity, and then I'd bluff diamond rivers basically. But it's a little wide on the flop, and I'm just going to give up. I'm not gonna bluff. I don't think he's ever folding like maybe he bet calls like sixes and gets to that river. I don't think he folds sixes. So
Yeah, so
I didn't even fold.
there was my analysis. So let's look at GTO range and then go from there and maybe look at some population stats for how often they might stab fold. So if we use here, actually I'll load up my pre-flop sims because these are going to be the ones that I'm going to be, well, yeah, well, yeah, I guess that's fine. Let's do, okay, I think this is just the normal sim. So yeah, just the normal 3x open and then 3 bet ends up being around 20%. I think this is mostly due to the rake being higher. Like the other sims I um, have the 3 betting be a little bit tighter than this by only a couple percent. But my range actually looks pretty similar to this. I think I have, but yeah, we'll use like pseudo GTO ranges first. So let's go, and wait, let me go back to this. So like 5-4. I mean, I defend 5-4, 6-5, and I think the reason like 6-5 is not in here and there's like some weird stuff here is just because of the pre-flop subset that I used. So it just creates a small amount of inaccuracies with those types of things. But if we here, I have other pre-flop solved ranges. Do blind versus blind, 3x, big blind flat. So this is more makes sense. And like 5-4 off here is called 6-5, 7-6. So our ranges will be close to this, to be honest. That's in position, and then we have the small blind open, and that guy's presumably reg because he just like 1/3 the flop. It's probably close to this. If anything, it might be wider. And then it was king queen. I think it was two-toned. King queen 3. And I think I will only allow out of position a 1/3 sizing because that's probably all he's doing. We'll just do a simple-ish tree. I think I 3x'd it. Do something like this. This is fine. So let's see what equilibrium looks like. And then I will look at some population stats. I think the ranges actually will be fine for this situation. So I'll pause while this solves. All right, so I solved this down to 0.1%, which is a pretty good solve. And At equilibrium, we have the small blind C betting around 64%. I think if someone's using this one-third sizing, they're probably just doing it with range. And let's see. Okay. So 5-4 with a diamond is mixed. Well, I mean, it's a defend, and then it mixes in some raises, which I think makes sense. Let's see what the EV is. It's basically break even. A tenth of a big blind if you play it perfectly. Interesting. Wow, it defends like 10-8 with a diamond, 10-7 with one diamond, Jack 8 with one diamond. I mean, I probably do this, but it would not feel good. Defends almost all Ace-5, so Ace-5 with no diamond is like break even. That's crazy. Tough spot with a lot of hands, but I think again, I think people doing the one-third are probably just doing it for range. So I'm gonna do a node lock. Like change this a little bit. So I'm gonna have him range bet for the one-third and then resolve. Alright, I don't really want to solve this down all the way. But we see just the 5-4 with the diamonds still just mixed and kind of whatever. In position just does a little bit more raising. I thought it might do quite a bit more, but not really. So that doesn't really matter that much. Just I feel like all this really shows us is like 5-4 with a diamond is a possibility to be raising. Um, let's go back and look at this. So I want to see what the sizings were. So in this situation, I'll just delete this. We're risking 13-10 to win, 28-20. So it's got to work, this often basically for us to win money. 13-20 divided by 28-20. Oh wait, 13-10, 28-20. 46%. And I think I said it in the video, it needs to work around half the time. And this is assuming we have zero equity. And we have a little bit of equity, and I think we have like pretty plus EV bluffs on maybe a 9, for example, or a diamond for sure. So let's take a look at what the population's bet fold frequency is for this spot and see what it is. All right, so I ran a filter here for situations where the small blind open, the big blind call, they go post flop basically. Um, and the bet fold frequency overall is 45%. And then I want to see what it is when they bet the small sizing. Because I think it'll be higher. Might be higher. It'll actually probably be around this still. Say they do a bet size between 25 and 40%. How's this change? Does it go up? Does it go down? Does it stay the same? Flop. Oh wait, this is flop first bet fold. Did I do something? Yeah, this is not the right stat. I'm kind of dumb. This is flop first bet. I wanted flop bet fold. check raise, check fold. I don't have bet fold. Okay, so I have to find this stat real quick. So flop, flop, bet fold. There we go. I was like, why did it disappear when I put it in? It's because it doesn't make any sense. Flop versus raise fold percentage. Okay, so 42.5%. Is that with the... No, that's just overall. So flop bet fold percentage is 42%. Let's do the with the bet size. So made bet size between, let's go 20 to 40. It's fine. And it probably goes up a little bit. Ah, 46%. So I think that's all I really need to know, but we could also do some board texture stuff. Let's just look at like what is it on an A side texture. So 42 is baseline. And I mean, this is for whatever ray sizing as well. So they're bet folding 46% on an A side texture. That's kind of interesting. I thought it would go down. Board texture. And then we had a king high texture. I had 44%. I mean, I think I've figured out what I need to know. I think they're going to be bet folding somewhere around 40 to 50%. I needed 46%, assuming I had 0% equity. And I think I have some profitable turn barrels, like specifically on a diamond or maybe a nine. So I think the 4-5 is actually pretty well played. Let's try to find another hand, one more hand, I think, um, and then that'll be it for this video. Ah, this is a good one. Do this tens one. So here, I'll play this hand with the audio from the recording, and then we'll go over it together.
So we get the three bet here. Tens is mixed in equilibrium. I don't know about it in practice. Feel like we could have donks here. Tens seems like a good donk actually. Can have sevens, nines, eights. I don't know if people are like really ever bluffing here, but I don't think they would bluff future streets that much. And if we got like a 9 or a 7 or a 10 turn, that'd be like very good for us. Yeah, I highly doubt anyone's bluffing here, but his raise sizing on the flop is really small. So call a flop for sure, and then I'll just fold turn.
All right, so let's do a sim for that because I'm making one assumption that I can have a donkey range. I'm pretty sure I can, but guess I'm not exactly 100% sure. So let's run a sim. We'll do solver ranges first, and then go from there, I guess. I think I will just do this. Give him 50, I guess. That's what he chose. I feel like we can have donks again, potentially, as well. This one should still solve fast, because this is going to be a 3-bet pot. So stack sizes, starting pot. I think it was like 8 bigs. Just do this. Do something like this. And then we'll start with Munger ranges. So flat 3-bet and P flat cutoff 3-bet. We'll do Munger ranges again. So first RFI versus MP, RFI, cutoff 3-bet. Okay. And then the flop was 865, I think. I think it was rainbow. Let's see what this outputs for us. I'm mostly wondering if at equilibrium we would have donking ranges. I think my range in practice is actually a bit stronger than bunker because I don't think I'm 4-betting like jacks and tens as often as what equilibrium would. And I think I have the 8 sixes 5s probably a little bit more. Okay, so we're donking a lot. Did I include raise sizings here? I gave him a 3x sizing. I think he 2.5x'd me, but I mean, whatever. So this is like a very high EV board texture for donking 65%. It's kind of crazy, actually. Well, how often is he supposed to? Oh, he's just supposed to pure race me. Okay. Interesting. What am I supposed to do versus that? Oh, there's no tens here. What the hell? Wait, this range had no tens? 1 second. What? This is not a pure 4-bet. Did I just not include it in the... Let me see if I just missed putting it in. Yeah, what the fuck? I like don't even have this range being correct. I don't know why I don't have tens in here. It's like 40%. It's like maybe 45%. I'm just looking at a Munker chart. I have Munker up right now. And then Jax is like 25% maybe. I'm gonna have to resolve this. I was so confused. Got that, got that, got that, got that, got that. The rest of this looks good. I don't know why I don't have... I had that wrong. It's kind of interesting. Let me rerun this really quick. Alright, so I just included it to have like some Jackson 10s in there, equal to like what Munker shows. Like all these hands are mixed with folds, and then these are like mixed with some 4-bets. Actually, maybe even these are wrong. Let me check again. No, this is pretty close to what I have in Munker. Okay, so this range is fine at equilibrium. And then, oops, I have the range up. So yeah, I mean, this is solved enough. Let's take a look. So, I mean, I can donk for sure. And he's supposed to raise a lot. I definitely don't think people are raising this often, like at all. But I think they would be like way more value heavy. But I do think they would raise a lot of the pairs. So we call. And it was a 6 turn. So no donks on the 6. I think I allowed donks on turn. Yeah, I think 6 is kind of bad. And then he just half potted. Oh wow, 10s are mixed here. What the fuck? And Jacks is jammed? This is crazy. I think I would just fold a lot. So I definitely don't think people are gonna have these like ace, queen, ace, jack, king, jack, queen, jack stuff like at all. Like his bluffs. Like I don't think this is happening at all. I think he's just like very strong. But I'm really happy to see that donking was reasonable, at least with these ranges. So let's do more of what my range would probably look like. So I don't pure call these, but I'd probably mostly be calling sixes. And then I'd probably like fold these other hands like very often. I don't really have these much. I'd keep these probably similar percentages, maybe even less. Probably less actually. I don't really like calling these hands that often. Me personally, I'm going to not be 4-betting tens very much. Let's do something like this, and then something like this, maybe. And then I actually might call some queens. I'd probably call more. Well, no, we'll just keep this around the same. But I don't think I would 4-bet most of my king queen suiteds. Not 4-betting these. I'm just gonna be mostly calling these hands. This is probably closer to what my range would look like, to be honest. And it's always hard to say, but I probably have some of this stuff. I mean, maybe I would 4-bet sometimes. I'll put them at like a 0.9. That seems closer to what I would be doing. So let's solve this again. I mean, if anything, this is like a stronger range. So this is like GTO in position 3-bet versus my presumed calling range-ish. And it's mostly a donk. Okay, so it just donks for range because this is a little bit stronger. Interesting. And he's supposed to raise a lot still. We get kind of the same situation. I wonder how we can change this. So let me see. Call 3-bet or 4-bet, preflop versus RFI. Versus RFI, normalized versus MP. Cutoff 3. Okay, so this is population average. Let me solve it again with these ranges. See if we still have a donk. So this is my population average, and this isn't like perfect, but this is basically taking my several million hand sample and then filtering for the spot, and on average the cutoff is 3-betting the MP with a range something like this, which is just a little bit tighter. So it looks like we're definitely donking less. Let's let it solve though. So this one's going to take a little bit longer because I have all these partial frequency hands in this sim. Yeah, I'll pause it. Alright, this is solved to about 0.3%, which is good for enough for me, basically. And out of position still has a donking range, even with this tighter um, in position 3 bet population range. And versus that, he's still supposed to be raising a lot. And I think people's ranges in practice would actually look closer to this, but still not include a lot of these backdoor flush draw raises. So I think they're like even tighter. Especially like they're not gonna be raising like this ace five, ace four, ace three, ace deuce, sometimes ace eight, ace queen, ace king. Like it's just not gonna be happening. But they might mix in a lot of these calls. And then versus that, tens is already mixed. Although this is for a 3x sizing, and in the hand he went like 2.5. And then we called, and then the sixth turn, no donks on the sixth turn, and he bet half pot. And I think again people are not going to have these bluffs. Even if they did raise them on the flop, I don't think they're going to have them on the turn. And then tens is mixed again, and I think I'd rather just pure fold the tens. So I'm pretty happy that the donk bet ended up being pretty correct. And we looked at, equilibrium pre-flop ranges and then ranges closer to what I think are reality. Well, closer, not perfect, but closer. So only went through 3 hands, but we went pretty in depth. So that's it for this video. Thanks and goodbye.